I was lucky to come here and worship many years ago when I was a hospital chaplain here in Toronto. And MCC has had this long ministry and legacy, like you say, of really building an inclusive community in Toronto, not just around LGBTQ issues, but around other difficult conversations around race and religious diversity. You know, there's people who are part of this congregation who don't identify as Christian, who identify as atheist or Jewish, and yet still choose this to be their faith community. So there's this long legacy, but Brent Hawkes, who's really been serving, you know, as my greatest supporter and a mentor in a lot of ways, he's got this habit of literally pulling his shoes off, showing them to people and saying, these are my shoes, I'm taking them with me, you know, it's really an honor, and it's really quite humbling that the congregation, you know, voted 98% in favor of calling me as their new senior pastor-elect, and have put their trust in me. And leadership of a church is really about a two-way street, about a trust relationship. So Brent has put his trust in me to carry on his legacy and the incredible work he's done. But you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize the fact that I can stand here as an openly gay man who's a minister of a Christian church. I owe that to the work that people at MCC Toronto have done, to the work that Reverend Dr. Brent Hawkes has done. The fact that I can even be here, you know, coming from United Church roots now to MCC is really due to the work of this place. So it'll be a terrific opportunity to lead the congregation into the future and find new ways of being and new ways to continue that inclusive work. I really believe firmly that MCC Toronto is perfectly poised to have difficult conversations. You know, people who've experienced exclusion know how to talk about inclusion. And I think in the coming weeks and months and years, Toronto's going to be having some large conversations about race and power and privilege. And I really think MCC Toronto has a role in being part of that.
And you will be doing things differently, as we expect. Reverend Hawkes was not on Facebook. You're on Facebook. Talk about some of the different ways you will be ministering then.
Well, a lot of people have pointed out that Brent and I have a lot in common. You know, we're both cisgendered, white, educated men, but we have a lot of differences too. And you know, one of those differences is obviously in age. You know, Brent's been here for 40 years, and
I would
that's
say
an incredible
he was here before
commitment.
you were born. Am I guessing that correctly?
You'd be correct in that one,
Yeah.
Dwight. But you know, my goal for MCC Toronto is that every person in the city, whether they're a Muslim man from Etobicoke or a new Canadian in Markham or a senior citizen in downtown Toronto, knows that they're loved unconditionally, that they belong, and that MCC Toronto is a faith community that celebrates people in their full diversity, and that everyone is welcome here. And part of that will be using social media and reaching out in new ways. But I firmly believe that younger Canadians are looking desperately for spiritual depth in their lives, for meaning and purpose, but also for community and a place of belonging and radical inclusivity. So I really think MCC Toronto has a role to continue to play into the future, to really reach out to people and communicate that love, that acceptance, and that inclusion as wide and far as possible on every media outlet that's possible.